So next up, we're going to have Mayor Jeff Collier. Jeff is the mayor of the town of Dauphin Island, and he's going to talk to us a little bit today about island community, what it's like living on an island, preparing for, recovering from, and dealing with multiple disasters over the years. Thanks, Jeff.
All right, listen, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here. First of all, it's wonderful living on Dauphin Island. I'll just take that. If you want to join us. I am the mayor of Dauphin Island. I've been serving in that capacity now for a little over 21 years. I actually served 10 years as what I refer to now as a lowly council member for 10 years before that. So I've been serving as an elected official for Dauphin Island since the town incorporated, which was in 1988. And so if you need a poster child for term limits, I'm your guy. So yeah, if you need a picture, just give me a call. But you know, it's kind of funny that we talk about she asked me to kind of touch on multiple disasters, particularly hurricanes and of course oil spill, maybe comparing and contrasting a little bit of how we dealt with those types of things. And as you know, being a barrier island, we're on the front line. And so whatever comes in the Gulf of Mexico, we're one of the first ones to be touched by it. And that's not necessarily always a good thing, but that's just the way it is. In fact, when I first became mayor, I took over early in 1998. We were already cleaning up from Hurricane Danny at that particular time. And then we had, I believe it was George in 1998. And then we went to Isidore in like 2000 or 02. And then we had, you know, Ivan and Katrina and Gustav and Ike and, as I say, Tom, Dick, and Harry. You know, so we've had our share of natural disasters, particularly, you know, tropical storms, hurricanes, things of that nature. And then, of course, as I said, the oil spill, which was something totally different. I'll give you a little sneak preview that, you know, comparing and contrasting hurricane versus an oil spill, we would prefer to have neither. But I think the main difference is that, you know, we as human beings like things. We like things that we're accustomed to or that we're familiar with. We a lot of times don't accept change or those things that are somewhat foreign to us. And so, to me, that's the big difference between a hurricane and an oil spill. We don't like them. We don't like either one, but we certainly have had more experience with hurricanes, and so we're more familiar with them. We know pretty much what to expect. We know what we're going to have to do before, during, and after. But when the oil spill came around, it was totally different. We had no experience of that, and then while that was a good thing that we hadn't had experience, it also kind of proved to be a bit of a challenge and a bad thing that we hadn't had that experience, and not just us as a community, but us, I would say, as a nation, and certainly as a region. It was something that we had to kind of take a crash course in and deal with. And, you know, with the island in particular, I'm going to kind of back up a little bit, talk a little bit more about hurricanes and things, and then we'll kind of get back into the oil spill. But, you know, when you look at Dauphin Island, as I said, we're very isolated. We are a barrier island. One of the main things that we have to concern ourselves with is the fact that we only have one way on and one way off. You know, we have just one roadway coming onto the island, and so it's paramount that stay in place. So certainly when you have a hurricane situation, that is one of the key things that we try to watch for, and there's not a lot we can do about it. But, you know, for those folks who decide they're without, I don't know if I'm going to leave or not, I don't know if I'm going to evacuate or not, well, Mother Nature will make that decision for you at some point. In other words, if you wait long enough and Mother Nature covers the road, then you're staying. You know, you're not going at that time. And that's not a good thing. That's one of the concerns I have as a mayor. And what we're seeing a lot when it comes to hurricanes is more and more people are choosing to stay on the island and put themselves in danger, putting themselves in a position where they cannot get assistance that they might need when things really get bad. And, you know, a little bit of that is education, information, but what they're concerned about in most cases is that sometimes when you leave, then you can't get back. You know, if the road gets compromised, and we've all, well, those of us that live there have all been through that. You know, you get off the island, it's like, okay, you know, when are they going to get the road cleared? When are they going to get the road repaired? You know, how long is it going to be? I'm worried about my stuff in my refrigerator going bad, or did my house got a leak in the roof? And so a lot of folks go through that pre-storm, and they will make the decision, the heck with that, I'm just going to stay here, and I'll be here, and I can take care of things if it happens. And so it's not the right decision, but I guess, you know, everybody has to make their own judgment. One of the things that also that we have to really be mindful of as a town is we have a lot, in our case, we have a lot of different entities on the island that, the town is not, it's not just one town government. We share a lot of responsibilities on the island with multiple agencies, such as the Gulf Park Beach Board, Volunteer Fire and Rescue, the Water and Sewer Authority, a lot of others that we kind of have to rely on and partner with in order to get things both prepared and then put back in shape after the fact. And that's okay. You know, it's kind of good. You know, you hate having to rely on other people to do things for you, but that's kind of where we are. We've got a pretty good relationship, and it tends to work. Again, we're going to be meeting a little later this month. We try to get together at least once a year with all those agencies, get them to the table, and just have a little roundtable discussion of, okay, where are we? Is there anything we're doing differently? Make sure we got all our connections and understanding what the game plan is going to be. Because in our case, as I mentioned about the road, we not only have to worry about what's going on the island, but we have to also envision, again, if the road is breached, if you go back to Hurricane Frederick in 1979, which would be 40 years this year. I know that because that's when I graduated high school. And so, you know, it knocked out the bridge. So we were without a bridge for almost 3 years. And so that's kind of hard to plan for. But normally what happens is if the road gets compromised and you may be out for a day or two or three or something like that, which is not insignificant. But what it requires us to do as a community, again, with our water, sewer, and other partners, is we may have to look at, you know, bringing folks back by air or by boat. And we can't always count on the road being there. And we have had to do that. So all of that kind of planning and connections has to be done ahead of time. It's not something you do after the fact and say, oh, we're going to need a helicopter to bring people back for water or sewer for all these other agencies. Because we can't really require them to stay on the island, right? You know, I already touched on that. A lot of the employees that the town has live off island. In fact, most of them do. We got a few on the island. Again, we don't require them to stay and put themselves in harm's way so that it'll be convenient for us when the storm passes. We actually even take equipment off the island so that it can help clear the roadway on the way back. One of our employees takes one of the front loaders over, and so they can actually come and help ALDOT. We have to coordinate very much with ALDOT. And, you know, we're just one little piece of ALDOT's problems when you have a storm. You know, we're not first on their list unless it's a relatively minor storm and we're one of the only ones that are damaged. Then we get all kind of quick assistance. But we've come to understand that we have to be over there to try to help them help us. We also issue hurricane re-entry passes so that, again, we can identify, we have to coordinate with the state highway department, the police, that is, and also Mobile County. And those folks have no idea who lives on Dolphin Island and who don't. So we have to issue passes so that as people come through, if it's a regulated or controlled re-entry, then we have to show them that we belong there. And we have a priority type system because depending on the nature of the damage, we don't necessarily want to fill the island back up real quick with tourists or people that are just down there looking and kind of getting in the way. In a post-storm event, one of the biggest things we have to do is get people back to the island. That is number one, because I have learned over the years, with all the storms I have, we've got to deal with our people, right? We've got to deal with our citizens, our business owners. And the best way to do that is get them home and essentially get them out of our way. And I don't mean that in an impolite way. That's just the fact of it. Get them home, get them back to doing what they need to do because they're interested in their property and their homes, and they need to get back and get themselves comfortable that they're okay. And so as soon as we can do that, and we can focus on the things that we have to do so that we can get the whole operation back up and running again. And of course, another critical component of that are certainly the utilities. Getting, as I said a minute ago, getting those water and sewer people back to the island, getting power company people back to the island, so that they can come over and start getting things back up and running, so we can get back somewhat to normalcy. Knowing your community, in our case, knowing your community like I do and have come to know is very important because every community is different. What I'm telling you is not going to be something that you would put into your practice at your community because they're all different. But in our case, we understand there are some areas that are more vulnerable than others, and we have to know timing. I do a lot of this on my own Facebook page, and keeping people informed. To me, that's one of the most important things. Again, if you've got, in my case, an island full of people that are kind of getting a little antsy or running in 14 different directions, that's not good for us. So the most important thing I feel like we can do for our citizens in any kind of disaster is keep them informed. And that's not only true with hurricanes and all, it's certainly true with oil spills or anything. Keep people informed so they can make informed decisions. And, there's nothing worse than bad information getting out there. It's a killer because trying to track down and correct bad information takes you as long or longer, and it just runs like wildfire, And so, I said, I've been doing this a long time, and it's, you kind of just second nature once you've done it a while. If you're dealing with these types of things, I don't really get nervous. I just kind of like, I kind of know the mission, but it's being able to implement that, keeping a cool head, staying factual, keeping your feet on the ground, and doing what needs to be done to get things going, and cutting out all the static and the emotion and all the hysteria is one way to do that. So we're always going to have storms. There's no question about that, and that's just, again, it's the nature of the beast with being certainly on a barrier island or anywhere along the coast. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. That's just part of the price that we pay to live in paradise, right? That's just one of the things that comes with it. But let me kind of shift over and talk a little bit more about oil spill. As I said earlier, the big takeaway for me, and again, I've lived on the island my whole life. I've done it. I've accomplished a little over 58 years now, so I've been on the island quite a while. And there's no question that the oil spill was, as I said, very foreign, very different. And I think one of the worst parts of it for me was that we were pretty much put in a bystander situation. We as the town, as our community, were basically like, okay, y'all step over here to the side, we got this, just basically stay out of our way. And I realized to some extent that, as this gentleman said, I didn't have HAZWOPER training either. I didn't know what it was either. But there were, the island was inundated. I will say this, there was a lot of equipment, and a lot of people showed up. We looked like a military installation in just a few days. There were trucks and equipment and boats and people and tents and, the whole thing. It just seemed like it happened almost overnight. And they just came in and took over the whole community. We were glad they were there, right? We were glad that there were resources apparently there to do what they could to defend the coastline from the impending threat. But yet at the same time, again, human nature is if something's going on, you want to roll up your sleeves and jump in there and do something about it. Particularly when it's happening in your community or your home or things of that nature. But that to me was one of the most challenging parts of it. Another challenging part of it to me is what I've already touched on was communication. To me, the communications were very, very poor at best. There was not a lot. And again, listen, folks, I'm not standing here being critical. I feel like this is constructive criticism. I know there was a lot going on. I know there was a lot of people that probably didn't know what to do. I never forget one of the first big meetings that I went to was at, I think it was at Fort Whiting or Brooklyn Field. Sure, some of our Coast Guard friends were there, and others. But I never forget went into this big hangar out there at Brooklyn Field. There was hundreds of people there, literally hundreds, the governor, everybody from top to the bottom. And this was one of the things that kind of got to a point that was like, hey guys, this is really serious. You know, this is a really serious thing. And so I remember being there, listening, hearing everything that was being said, and leaving. As I was walking to my vehicle, I was sitting there thinking, geez, this doesn't look good. Because I left with the feeling that there wasn't a lot of real good handle on what was going to happen. I mean, there was a lot of, as you heard other Brian say, there was a lot of uncertainty and a lot of unknowns. And so I didn't leave that meeting with a very good, warm and fuzzy. Okay. And of course, you know, Brian spoke about the fishing industry, seafood industry, food program. But, you know, from our standpoint, the impacts were certainly from tourism standpoint, right? I mean, that tourism, particularly eco-tourism, is Dauphin Island's bread and butter. I mean, that's what we offer, you know, and unfortunately, just like the seafood industry was put out of business, we were put out of the tourism business because essentially everything that we offer, or have to offer that is attractive to people was no longer available. And that was, you know, going to the beach, fishing, swimming, eating seafood, birding, anything, just about anything that people come to Dauphin Island for was off limits. And so essentially we were out of business. We actually had one real estate company, it's one of the largest real estate companies on the island, that within a few days, weeks or so after the oil spill, they had to hire an extra office person to take cancellations from people that were going to be coming to spending time on the island. And so it was extremely significant. The other question was, as he said, there was more questions than answers. You know, how long is this going to last? What are going to be the impacts? Will the tourism, will it ever come back? You know, what is going to be the downtime? When will things ever get back normal? I remember a lot of the questions with the media at the time. They were, Mayor, you know, what do you think? And when do you think things will be back okay again? I'm like, I don't know. You know, I really don't know. And, you know, a lot of times as a mayor or as any leader, sometimes you don't like to tell your folks exactly how you're feeling, because I had a lot of internal concerns. I really did, but I didn't really get out there. You know, I'm not a, you know, I don't like to make a big scene. I don't like to get out there too much, but I was concerned because I had no idea, and I was concerned from our community, both the environment, number one, which, you know, when you're in the eco-tourism business, you know, the environment is paramount to your survival. You know, it's all contingent upon a healthy and vibrant and clean environment. And so there were a whole bunch of questions, and then you start looking at it from the standpoint of, can the island be sustainable, you know, economically? You know, will we be able to ever get back to getting the funds that we need from the tourism? And so, yeah, it was a bad time. There's no question about it. And the actual cleanup process, like I said, they had a lot of different people, equipment, things. And again, it's like it's out of our way. We got this covered. Of course, sifting the beaches. Some of you probably, you know, really did that in some areas. There was a lot of angst over whether they were going to do that or not. A lot of the conversations I had personally about the island specific was we had to kind of twist their arm to get them to clean the beaches. Whereas in other communities, it seemed like it was kind of happening as a norm. And so, you know, I'm about done, right? I'm sorry. You know, but in our case, it was like we had to really work hard just to get them to do what seemed to be the right thing to do. You probably remember that the Katrina cut on the west end of Dauphin Island, about a mile for each, a mile and a half for each, got filled with rocks at some point to try to keep oil from going into Mississippi Sound. That was a pretty extensive and expensive proposition. It was around $17 to $18 million to do that. So there were a lot of things that were done. I do think, as Brian has talked about the food program, one of the little criticisms I have, I guess, is that in our area, again, I felt like, in talking to some of our local fishermen, that they weren't given enough of a role to play, because they had the local knowledge of the waters. They knew where the shores were, the tide flows. They know the waters better than anybody. And in our case, there was a lot of folks from the northeast coast that came down to clean. Well, it'd be like taking us up there and turning us loose. There could have been a lot better connection there. And in closing, I'll quickly say that going forward, I do agree with Brian that we need to continue to train and have local folks aware of how to respond, so that we have a better understanding. Like I said, kind of have a little built-in army of our own, of our local folks who know the waters like the back of their hands to respond. And there's a lot of other things that can be done as well. But I will say, again, jumping ahead, we are very proud, very happy that things are not only back to normal, but probably even back a little better than they were pre-oil spill. You know, knock on something. So, but we're doing well right now. There are still some questions about the fisheries and the waters, and that'll be going on for quite some time. But I think going back 9 years ago to where we are today, in my opinion, we are way ahead of where I thought we might be. Again, sorry for going too long. It's good to be here. Thank you all for having me.